Just confirming that we've started. Just one moment. Okay, I think it's finally worked now. Sorry about that.
No problem. Technical issues happen sometimes.
Yes. So, hi everyone. Hi Lucy. How are you?
I'm great. As I was telling you before, I'm so glad that you have invited me to join this interesting, important conversation on low carb, on our societies. And I'm so grateful, Nupur, that you took the time to come here and do this live after coming back from New York. It's such a long trip.
No, thank you, Lucy, because a lot of times people tell us that they find it so hard or they can't imagine how to do low carb. And I think really, really grateful to you for showing our viewers and our audience, and also, of course, your friends, how low carb can be done anywhere, wherever you are in the world. There's nothing that stops you really from doing it. So as we chat, I'm also quickly trying to share this link across so that lots of people can join in and watch with us. But Lucy, do you want to tell us, where you're joining us from, what time it is there, and a little bit about yourself while I share the post?
Yes, of course. Well, I was thinking about the presentations to be done with our presentation, our slides, but I'm joining from Spain today. I have been living with type 1 diabetes for 31 years. I have double nationality, Argentinian and Spanish. And well, to me personally, the low carb approach changed my life because my glucose management became better and I could start experiencing a better life and not being constantly high or low really made the change. So, well, that's why when we met in person, Nupur, we had so much in common because I think that your experience was similar.
Correct. No, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm so happy that we met. Actually, let me also quickly ask our viewers if they can see us and hear us. I got so excited seeing Lucy after a long time that I forgot to ask you guys if. So if you can see us and if you can hear us, please, tell us in the comment box. Say hi. Tell us what you're doing.
Yes. Where are you connecting from today?
That will continue, but we do want to hear from you guys as well, and keep those questions coming once we start. So now that I have that out of the way, it's really really awesome that that Lucy, that we met, not just that we met, but also that we realized that the both of us do low carb and have had T1 for fairly long. Lucy for 31 years, me for 28 years, and that we're able to manage, and that we are so happy and excited to share with all of you what works for us and how we do it, and all of
Yes.
that. So yeah.
Yes, we think it's a very good way to treat our diabetes because it has worked. And I'm talking from first-hand experience. And I see that it works for others too, like Nupur. So access to that information is really valuable. You do you, but it's good that you have all the information so that you can decide and maybe try.
Absolutely. I know a lot of people were very, very excited to, to tune into our workshop, and I am quickly sending out a blast of messages, to remind everyone that hey, we've started. Come on, join us quickly. And I can see some people are joining in, and I would like to encourage them to share a comment in the comment box, to tell us that they can see us and hear us, and to tell us what they want, to learn from this workshop today, or what they want to share with us. So keep that conversation going in the comment box, because Lucy and I are, of course, going to keep chatting, and we're going to keep sharing. But
Yes, we
just a
want to hear
reminder.
from you. We want to answer your questions because people have many doubts, and we are here to clarify as much as possible. So, or just say hi. We will be happy
Absolutely.
to read you.
Yes, we'll be super happy to, say hi. And a lot of people have a lot of also misconceptions, right, about low carb. They feel like, oh, I can't do it. It's not for me.
Yes, they think that low carb is a privation, and it's
Yeah.
not. It's
Yeah.
not. Our nutrition is good. I feel satisfied with this lifestyle. Um, there are many misconceptions that stop people from finding out more before judging. They just judge immediately because they heard something from someone else. Oh, no, 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 no. That's too extreme.
Correct.
That's another myth. Extreme, come on. No way. Feeling better, feeling healthier. It's not extreme. In any case, it's extremely good.
Absolutely. And I see a couple of comments coming in. So thank you guys for letting us know that y'all are here. Punita, Roshni, Rohan, Lydia. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. And
Hi.
so I'm also going to keep our slides handy right here on the screen. Sometimes, the technology can get. Oh, no, I'm all good now. I was going to say, I find it challenging, but I think I'll save that line for another time. Today,
Yes.
it's not, it's all smooth. All right.
Okay.
So I see that we have some people that have joined us, and it's been a couple of minutes since we started. So we are happy to, quickly begin our workshop finally. Thank you for your patience, everyone. We had a little technical glitch, but, you know, uh, we're starting now, and we're going to talk about low carb in Latin America and in India. So, Lucy, over to you.
Yes, well, I'm very happy to be part of this workshop because we will discuss what India and Latin America have in common, how a low carb approach would be beneficial for both communities, Indian community and Latin American community. So Nupur and I will be in charge of this presentation today.
Yes.
And well,
Thank Lucy for taking the effort to make this presentation. I know it takes a lot to sit down and put all your thoughts together. So, Lucy, big thank you for that.
well, it was my pleasure. Well, it's such a pleasure to introduce you, Nupur, because any person who knows a little bit about the big advocates in the diabetes world at the international level must know you. A global health advocate and founding director of the Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation, living with type 1 diabetes since 1996, and certified diabetes educator, and part of many important international organizations such as the Global Diabetes Compact. You made a presentation there when it started in 2021 with
Yes,
Tiara. Yes.
that's true.
Um, it was great to see you there because the Global Diabetes Compact is relatively new, but we are doing a great work there. So it's amazing. But not only the World Health Organization, also she is an IDF Blue Circle voice, and a part of Healthy India Alliance, that is the Indian arm of NCD Alliance. Because Nupur is not just an advocate for people living with diabetes like us, but people living with NCDs. NCDs, other non-communicable diseases like cancer, obesity, etc. Okay, and she also sits on the key stakeholder advisory group of the Action for Global Health. Speaker, runner, that's also really important, uh, management professional, and advocate for women's health and empowerment. That's great. Such a pleasure
Lucy,
to share this hour with you, Nupur. An honor.
Lucy, thank you so much for that very, very kind introduction. And I am very excited to introduce you to all of our friends and our community members. And, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for making time on a weekend, when you could be doing anything else, but you chose to be here with us. So it means a lot to all of us. Lucy, you are a lawyer and you have specialized in health law and biomedicine. That is so cool. I didn't even know, that biomedicine and health law specifically is, a stream of expertise. But if anyone needs any legal help, you know where to go. So not only are you a lawyer, but you're also a global health activist, and you have a huge experience of 31 years of type 1 diabetes. So you really walk the talk, and you lead from the front with your own experience of living with it. And back when you were diagnosed and there wasn't as much awareness and knowledge, and we've chatted so much about how the lack of knowledge has been so sad and so detrimental for us, and about how we wish personally that we had found low carb earlier. And I know you're a great advocate of low carb as well, and I'm really, really excited to be talking about that today with you. You're also a Blue Circle voice with the IDF, which is the International Diabetes Federation. You're a DDoC voice. You're an ISPAD ambassador. You're also a diaryist with the NCD Alliance. And all of this you can check out on the website of the NCD Alliance as well, to read Lucy's diary and story. You're also a certified diabetes educator through the International Diabetes Federation, and you're a diabetes coach with Diverge, which is this very cool platform, that really trains people on how to sustainably manage living with diabetes and doing low carb. So happy to have you here today, Lucy. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts.
It is my pleasure. And well, now that you mention it, a thought crossed my mind, and it's
Yeah,
to recognize the importance of lived experience
correct.
in everything regarding diabetes. When we make a new policy for a country, or when we have to advise even healthcare professionals, because they count on the expertise of a medicine degree, but not
Correct.
on the expertise of living with the condition,
Yeah.
how our body reacts every moment, how it really works in the practice, not in the theory. And that changes.
Absolutely, it does. And like I was telling you a few minutes ago, I do remember a few people that specifically told me that they really, really are looking forward to this session. And I hope that all of you guys have joined. And if not, I'm still gonna, I'm tagging you all on our Facebook post so that you get the notification that, it's time for the workshop. And this is the workshop that you were really looking forward to. And so here we are. And Lucy, what you were saying is so true, right? The power and the expertise that lived experience brings, it is so important and it's so valid, because otherwise, what are we? We are just a patient. And that's fine. When we do go to the doctor, we go to a hospital, we are a patient, right? But the rest of the 24 hours, we are also a person. We have, we have office, we have a job, we have a family, we have a pet, we like to do sports, we have our own preferences. So sharing
Yeah.
our experiences and learning from each other is so important. And I have to say that I have learned so much from the online diabetes community. And this
Cool.
is really what Lucy and I want to do here today. We want to share our experience, as fellow T1s, as fellow diabetics, and tell you that low carb is an amazing approach for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. I would like to ask our watchers this question. Have you ever tried low carb before? Just yes, no? Hello, Harish. I would like to know if somebody has already tried this approach to manage his or her diabetes.
Yes, please tell us in the comment box if you have already tried low carb, or if you have thought about it and you feel like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Um, tell us what you're thinking.
Yes. No, not right. Self learning is the best learning. Yes, because you can also learn from yourself, not just from fellow Taiwans, but also from your body and how it reacts to different food, to different conditions.
Correct.
We should try it. Harnet says, "Oh yeah, okay, yes."
Yes, definitely. And we are here to tell you today, and share our experience. A lot of people sometimes, and I want to, maybe, I don't know if it's too early in the conversation, Lucy, but I want to bring this up about how some people say that, about pushing people to do a certain thing. Well, like Lucy said earlier, you do you. You know
Yes,
what works for you,
absolutely.
but you should also know that low carb is an option. It's a very successful and very sustainable option. And if you choose to do it, and you're happy about it, we are there and we are happy to sort of guide you.
Exactly, Nupur, because the thing is that, in my opinion, there is not enough information on this approach
Yeah.
because people think that a high carbohydrate intake must be part of their daily routine in order to avoid hypoglycemias. And that is causing hypoglycemias. It's not keeping you away from them. It's increasing the risk of you developing hypoglycemias, which sounds contradictory, but it is not, and we will explain why.
Yes. I also want to ask our viewers, have you heard, what Lucy just said? Have you heard of this? That, if you do, or has this been your concern that if I do low carb, will I get a lot of hypos? Is that a question that has come to your mind before? Or has somebody told you that before? I can see Harneet says, yes, true. And Harish says, I'm already eating low carb. Well, that's great to know, Harish, and thank you. Right.
Yes.
So we are here to sort of bust those myths, and we are here to tell you about how, eating low carb actually reduces your chances of both hypo and hyper. And, there's an amazing thing, and you've probably already heard about the law of small numbers, and we'll come to that, later in the presentation. So maybe I should move to the next slide, and yes,
Well,
over to you,
our
Lucy.
reasons. Okay, here are some reasons why a low carb approach is good for your diabetes management. And I will start with the first one, Nupur, and it
Yeah.
is that it stabilizes your blood sugar levels. And if you didn't think that was possible, it is. It is.
Correct. Absolutely. I'll do the second one, which is lower medication dependency. One of the sort of things that I see, that work a little anti low carb is that people say that it's not a cure for type 1 diabetes. Yes, obviously, low carb or keto is not a cure for type 1 diabetes. It's one way of managing your diabetes efficiently. And it doesn't matter what type of diabetes you have. So if you have type 2 diabetes, for example, there are a lot of people that have even stopped. They've consulted with their doctor, and after moving to a low carb diet, they've had to stop their medication, because that's the beauty of managing your diabetes on low carb. So with type 2, that could be a possibility for some people, that their medication reduces or completely stops. And for those who are type 1, like Lucy and me, and many of you in the comment section, uh, we also, our insulin doses reduce when we're on low carb. So if you eat bread or rice, you obviously need more insulin. And if you eat meat and vegetables and eggs, you need a lot less insulin. So that's the second thing that really works in favor of low carb.
I would like to read some of our comments. And Harris says, people are who eat low carb without knowing insulin adjustments and timings create problems like hypoglycemia. Indeed, that's true, Harris. That's why it's not just eating less carbohydrates, but also managing insulin doses, monitoring your blood sugar levels often, really often, and adjusting. It's not that you eat low carb and magic, your diabetes is managed and it's like you don't live with diabetes. Well, I wish it was like that, but it's not. However, low carb absolutely makes things way easier and helps a lot. And Salim says it creates a conflict when somebody wants to gain weight and needs extra management. Except that low carb, or I would say complex carb, is with an option. I think it says here. Well, I must say that please feel free to ask your healthcare professional because every person is different and maybe you have different needs. And it's a very good idea that if you have things like this, you ask your doctor, and they will be able to provide the best subjective advice for you because we are speaking in general, but
Yeah.
um, every person has their own and unique conditions.
Correct.
Okay, Nupur, Harnett says very difficult to manage in low carb. What do you think about that?
Yes, that's a great sort of concern, Harneet, and I know a lot of people have that sort of question mark in their minds, that it's very difficult. So sometimes when I have this, sort of barrier in my mind with anything, whether it's low carb or diabetes in general or any other problem, what I do is I sit down with a paper and pen, and I write my concerns. So 1 2 3, I write down practical problems that I am facing. So Harneet, my question to you is, when you say that it's very difficult to manage low carb, what part of low carb do you find difficult? Do you find that cooking low carb is difficult? Do you find that you get a lot of hypos? Which part do you find difficult? So I'm going to wait for you to reply, and I'm just going to read out Punita's comment. She says, if we do low carb, those dishes would be high protein and high fat, which would spike later and need a second round of insulin. Isn't this right? Lucy, you want to answer that?
Yes, of course. Well, first, I would like to answer Harnet, Anna, who said that it's very difficult to manage low carb. I think it's even more difficult to manage high carb because you will have a hyperglycemia, which will come down to a hypoglycemia, and then you will be on the roller coaster all your life, feeling awful and deprived of energy. Because I was there. I I treated my diabetes with a high carb approach for so long. and I didn't have the quality of life that I have today. Okay, and regarding Punita, yes, that's right. And that's why we have to measure our blood and glucose levels before and after meals. And we have to bolus and keep a track of the insulin that we are injecting to try to stay as stable as possible in our levels throughout the whole day. We try to emulate how the pancreas works in a healthy person. Well, healthy, you can live with diabetes and be healthy, but we want to emulate the levels of a person who does not live with diabetes, because we think we are entitled to the highest level of health that we can achieve. Even if we live with diabetes, we are aiming for the top, to be as good as we can be.
Yes, yes, that's such an important reminder, and Lucy, thanks for saying that, because many times the expectation or the standard that is set for diabetics is so low. I mean, if we are entitled to the same blood sugar as non-diabetics, we are entitled to the same quality of a long and happy and healthy life that anybody else should have. We should have the same kind of life, and which is why, for us, low carb has worked excellently, and we're here to share with you why and how. So, yes, Punita, like Lucy said, you may need to split your bolus dose. You may need to take 2 shots, depending on what you're using. If you're using a pump, you can split the dose on the pump with a square wave or dual wave, or whichever type of pump you're using. If you're using MDI, that's multiple daily injections, you can take 2 shots. You can also consider using regular insulin, which is also called Act Rapid. Um, which really works beautifully with low carb foods. So that's also something that you can do. And I just want to take this opportunity to also share that I do use low carb. I'm MDI now. I used to use a pump earlier. So I do use, both Novo Rapid and Act Rapid, as and when I need to use it for the type of food that I'm eating.
And I love the topic that Punita brought. And he mentioned the nutrients that children need when they are growing. And
Yeah.
recently, I think 2 days ago or 3 days ago, a study was published on that, precisely in low carb in children. So I will be very happy to write an article, and I think I'm going to do that for diabetes, for people to know the latest scientific results on the topic, because we are entitled to be informed of another approach that is not that mainstream. And
Absolutely.
there are many things that are essentials: proteins, amino acids, fats, but there is no such thing as essential carbohydrate. We don't need that to survive. But please keep in mind that we are not talking about not eating carbs at all. That would be too much. No, we are reducing the amount, low carb,
Yes, yes.
and choosing
And
the main ones,
sorry, Lucy, what were you saying?
and choosing the right carbohydrates. It's not that they disappear from our diet,
Yeah.
but we reduce the amount and we choose the ones that are better for us, like the ones in vegetables.
Correct. Correct. And maybe, some of you have heard this before. I've shared this as well. The exact same thing that Lucy said. There are essential amino acids, there are essential fatty acids, but there is no essential carbohydrate. So even for parents worried about, does my child need carbohydrates for growth? What you need for growth is protein, and there's a lot of conflict and there's a lot of debate And as a parent, we understand that you're concerned and you're scared and you want your child to grow, to their capacity and height, weight, everything. You want them to be happy. But definitely, low carb is one excellent way of managing that, and children can definitely do it. I want to address Harneet's concern about, I asked what is the problem that you face with low carb, and she says getting a hypo. And Harneet, I know you're talking about your son. So, Harneet, a suggestion is that with low carb, you need to adjust your doses. So, you need probably lesser bolus. You'll also need to do basal testing to figure out what your basal requirements really are. So that is something very, very important, because if you're taking the same industrial amount of dose, that you're used to taking for roti and biryani and something that has a lot of carbs. Lucy, roti is the bread that we eat, and biryani is a rice preparation, very tasty, very amazing, but sometimes wreaks havoc on the blood sugar. So for those kinds of food, if you need, let's say, 10 units, and if you take the same 10 units for an omelette, you will definitely get a hypo. So
Yes,
so that is something that you need
absolutely.
to
It's
adjust.
I was thinking now that you were talking, Nupur, you were commenting this, and I was thinking that truly, no matter the treatment that you are doing, high carb or low carb, but I think that what is really needed is a lot of education on the patient side. If you live with diabetes, you must be educated, because there are so many factors that you have to take into account, and you have to modify all the time the treatment, because there are many and sudden conditions that appear and might change your insulin needs or your needs, things that even many things that you cannot manage, for example the temperature. So we need a lot of education always on the patient side, and it's always good to count on somebody who can help you and accompany you, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Just reading out Harish's comment, he says someone who wants to start low carb, search for keto foods, learn the nutritional value of your food. There are a lot of options available in nature, and low carb is like magic. Your insulin dependency will reduce 30 to 50%. Yes, you'll definitely need less insulin. How much less you need, again, that's going to differ from person to person. And sometimes people ask us that, why, what is the big deal about needing less insulin? And that's not the point. It's not about, do I take more or do I take less? The point is that, when you eat less carbs, you inject less insulin, and with less insulin you have less chance of getting hypo or hyper both. So that's the benefit. It's not about, I take less units and I'm a good person. It's not that. But because a lot of people, they pose this counter argument, and they say that, somebody who has T1 needs insulin, so what does it matter if I take more or less? It does matter, in this context, because you are then putting yourself in a situation where you may get more hypoglycemia or more hyperglycemia.
Hello, you were frozen for a
Oh,
second, Nupur, but you are back now, just for one
all right.
second. Yes, but also the less insulin that you need, the better for your health, because the less insulin that you use and you need, the healthier you will be. Producing, even for healthy people, well, healthy, I say healthy people, but even for people who don't live with diabetes, producing a lot of insulin themselves is not a good idea, because that can be the beginning of a type 2 diabetes, because you are mm, provoking that your pancreas gets tired of too much insulin production.
Correct. Yes, that's a great reminder for I, and I know that we have type 2 friends who are watching this program today as well. And all the type 2s that are here, feel free to say hi and tell us your challenges. And if you are on low carb, or if you are planning to try low carb, tell us what you're thinking, tell us your thoughts. And yeah.
Yes, because it also has many advantages for people living with type 2 diabetes. Even, type 2 diabetes can be reversed.
Yes.
Sometimes just with nutritional management, and then that is magic.
Yes, absolutely. And isn't it amazing that, you can really fix your whole life, not just your diabetes or not just a health condition, but, you can really change your outlook because everything is connected. The physical and the mental are both connected. When you're fit and healthy physically is when also your mental health, improves.
Yes.
There's a connection between diabetes and depression as well. People that have uncontrolled blood sugars for long periods of time are more susceptible to getting depression, anxiety, and many other mental health related problems as well.
Yes. Oh, Nupur, and regarding type 2 diabetes, there's some kind of debate. Some people don't like the word and revert your diabetes because it implies that it can be cured. And
Yeah.
well, somehow it can. I mean, if you change your eating patterns, you won't have type 2 diabetes anymore. But some people say it's a remission, but I think that language is once more really important because it's a remission because it can appear again, but many times it's connected to lifestyle.
Yeah. And I think one of the most difficult things to change is to change yourself, to change your habits and to change the things that you've been doing for many years. Many people, when they talk to us or they tell us that I can't stop eating bread, I can't stop eating roti, I can't stop eating rice. Why? What stops you?
Your mindset.
Correct.
Stops you.
Exactly.
You stop yourself because you think you think that's better. But what can be better than feeling good? But yes, it's important to work on that, and it's kind of marvelous that when you start with low carb, you also have reduced cravings. You don't feel like eating all the time, and you feel more satisfied. When you eat things like pizza, you have a whole pizza and you're still hungry and have space for dessert. And I think, oh my God, how can that be possible? Well, it's because also sugar creates addiction. It's really
Yeah.
addictive. Sugar, yes, like drugs.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's some, I read somewhere that, the way that cocaine is addictive, the exact same way sugar is addictive as well. So it's so true, right? Once you eat, you want more and more and more.
Yes. It's an addiction because it triggers a really important response in the brain. So it's chemical, and that's why the people who produce food know exactly how our brains react and add so many unhealthy ingredients that keep us hooked to those ultra processed products.
Yeah, that's a big problem these days, right? Like 50 years ago or 70 years ago, the amount of, the ultra processed products or the junk food that was available earlier versus now, there's a huge difference, and there's a huge amount of availability. And I think that's causing problems in children as young as 5 and 7 years old are getting obese, and they're getting unhealthy because they're consuming all of these ultra processed foods. So
Yes,
yeah.
even the levels of the number of children living with type 2 diabetes is increasing, and obesity during childhood. And that's really sad because it is avoidable.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. And
Okay,
this is
more. Or
Yeah.
we have the beta lipid profile, Nupur.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I think this question, Lucy, comes up time and again on our group as well. A lot of people, just yesterday or today, I remember seeing a post on our Facebook group on Diabetes Support Network India, and somebody said, somebody was talking about eggs. And then, a few of us replied saying, yeah, eggs are healthy and the whole egg is good. And then somebody had this query about what about cholesterol, right?
Ah,
And
yes, that's an old one.
that's an old one. And it keeps coming back and it keeps coming back because somehow eggs are the villain, and that's not really true. I mean, each body, each case, each medical situation is different. So we are just making a general observation here. But if you eat whole foods like eggs and vegetables, really you don't have much to fear. In fact, what really, and this is something I've learned through Dr. Bernstein as well, is that for cardiovascular disease, what is the greatest risk factor? And some of you may be surprised to know that the biggest risk for getting cardiovascular disease is actually your HbA1c. So it's blood sugar control. If your blood sugars are controlled well and they're in range for most of the time, your chances of getting CVD are much lesser. So it's not just, did I eat an egg? It's about, did I manage my blood sugars? Am I overweight? What's your overall health like? So your lipid profile also improves when you're on low carb. And of course, there's a little bit of a transition period. You might see some numbers fluctuating when you switch to low carb for the first time, but there's usually nothing to worry there.
It has been proved that a low carb approach decreases the levels of triglycerides and increases the levels of good cholesterol that is good for you. So it changes everything. Even a friend of mine who does not live with diabetes, his name is Jacobo, he had very high levels of triglycerides and he has started following a low carb approach
That's
without
amazing.
diabetes. This is not just for people who live with diabetes. Eating healthy and being healthy is for everybody.
Correct. And so important because so many people, there are millions of people today who are on the brink of diabetes. They are pre diabetic. And a little push, and they're going to become, they're going to get type 2 diabetes. And what is the way to manage that? Like Lucy said, if somebody feels like they already want to have a healthy life, they want to, be proactive and take charge of their health, even if you don't have diabetes today, you can still do low carb and make sure that you never get type 2 diabetes in the future.
Okay, here is Dr. Bernstein. Well, this guy has created such a big impact in my life. And I think that his story is really interesting because he's 89 years old now,
Yeah.
living with type 1 diabetes since he was 12 years old.
Yep.
And he's still here answering questions for people who want to follow this approach that he discovered, tried on his own. He became a doctor to prove his point. The industry didn't like what he was saying at all, and we still see in that confrontation today because many he has helped so many people, and well, he helped us, and that's why we want to help others because everybody deserves the information and then they decide what they want to do.
Yes, I just want to put a plus one on what Lucy said. Exactly the same, opinion I have. I think, reading Dr. Bernstein's book changed my life. I would have gone down that road, and I would have got, diabetes complications, and I would have been in a situation where I would not know how to help myself. And now, I mean, thanks to what Dr. Bernstein has put out there, and he, of course, his book, The Diabetes Solution, where he talks about using low carbohydrate, dietary approach to manage type 1 diabetes, of course, all types. But that's been really life changing and has made actually my life much easier. So, a lot of people that have that worry about low carb is difficult, take a moment, write down your questions, share it with us, and, we'll tell you how we made our lives easier with low carb.
Okay, and then the law of small numbers. Well,
Yeah.
Nupur herself wrote an article on the law of small numbers. What does it mean? It means that the less carbohydrates that you intake, the less insulin that you will use, which becomes the less risk of hyper or hypoglycemia and reduce margin for errors that can be fatal.
Yeah. It's actually so simple, right, Lucy? I mean, I feel like, oh my God, why did nobody tell me this before? It took me so many years to come to this point where when I read it in Dr. Bernstein's book, The Diabetes Solution that you see on the screen right now, I literally felt like there's a light bulb that just, switched on inside my head. And it's amazing because the chances of getting hypo reduced, the chances of getting hyper reduced, I mean, this is wonderful. I don't have any complaints. I feel very lucky, and management is a lot easier. But like Lucy said before, it's not that you do low carb and you forget about it and everything is okay. You still need to do your dose adjustment. You still need to bolus. We are taught that only carbohydrate needs insulin and you don't need insulin for protein. That is absolutely wrong. You do need insulin for protein as well. So there's a lot going on with insulin dependent diabetes that you need to keep in mind. But low carb definitely makes it a lot easier. And I think I'm just going to quickly take a minute to talk about the first point mentioned here, which is blood sugar monitoring. Very, very, very important. If you don't monitor your blood sugar, you
Yes,
don't know if you are high or low.
it's
Or
important to check it at all times.
yes, absolutely important. And unless you know that I'm high, if your blood sugar is 200 and I know I have to take a correction dose, but if you don't test, you don't know, right? So I think that a really important point there about blood sugar monitoring. And Lucy, over to you for the next one.
Yes, everything becomes easier if you wear a continuous glucose monitoring system. But unfortunately, not everybody can afford to count on them. So test strips can do the trick. And if you don't have enough, just measure your blood glucose levels in different times of the day, different days, and then just check the patterns. Um, because those levels will be essential to adjust your insulin doses, and we try to emulate the pancreas, as I said before, as much as possible. And this can be done through multiple daily injections or an insulin pump.
Yes. Another really important point, is about protein, and about how, like I was mentioning earlier, when we are diagnosed, we are told that you only need to take bolus or you only need to take insulin if you eat carbohydrate. And many of us are told that protein does not need insulin. But when we do low carb, we realize that protein needs insulin as well. And one of the types of insulin that work really well with protein foods is act rapid or regular insulin. So that is something that some of us old timers, of course, there are people over the years. Several insulins have been there in the market, but some of you will know that our insulin or act rapid was the only type of insulin up until a few years ago. So many people now call it old insulin or outdated insulin or bad insulin. The insulin is not good or bad. It's how we use it that makes it good or bad. So Act Rapid with low carb works beautifully. And, of course, you can use your analog insulin, your Novorapid, Novolog, Humalog, all of these insulin for correction doses or for certain foods. But protein, understanding how that works, when it spikes your sugars, when to take a when to take a shot, when to take a correction dose, all of these things are very important.
Yes, because they might have told you that proteins do not affect your blood sugar levels, but that's not true. They do, because there is a mechanism that it's called gluconeogenesis, in which the body produces glucose and energy out of protein. That's why there is no essential carbohydrate. Otherwise, we would die without them. And we have to include healthy fats in our diet. And healthy fats are contained in avocados, olive oil, etc. You have to
Yes.
supplement yourself too, but with the um, positive opinion and being accompanied by your healthcare professional, because it will depend on your unique and subjective needs and the results of your labs.
Yes, that's, I think, perfectly put by Lucy. Lucy, I'd like you to, start first about, how is the culture and the food habits in Latin America, and then I'll talk about India a bit as well.
Okay, yes. Well, I found out that we have so many things in common, Nupur, in our communities, and I
Yeah.
want to talk about this and to think on how we can implement a low carb in our own conditions. In both societies, me as Argentinian and Nupur as Indian, we give a lot of importance to the family, and we respect the older members of our families, who usually are the ones that show us the traditions that we follow, because there are many traditions that we follow and we respect. And we get together and we have many celebrations. I wrote Diwali and Oli in in India, and in Argentina, for example, we would have Año Nuevo y Nochebuena, and we get together as a family. And what is really, really important every time that we celebrate something, that we get together, our families, friends, is the importance of food. Food is always there on the table, and celebration is so related to food.
Yeah.
Nupur.
Yes, Lucy, I think you really hit the nail on the head, and such amazing similarities between both the cultures in Latin America and here in India as well. All celebrations, fortunately or unfortunately, they revolve around food, and a lot of people struggle with this problem that they want to do low carb, they really want to change their habits, but when they go to the house of their relatives or friends, and people force them to eat something, or people say, don't worry, just eat it today and tomorrow you can go back to your special diet. So these are the problems that some people face even when they want to try and do low carb. So what I do in such kind of a situation is that I stick to my way of eating, and I find ways and means of eating the foods that work for me. So if I eat a sabzi, if I eat vegetable and curry, then I'm not eating bread, I'm not eating roti, I'm not eating rice. So I still enjoy with my friends and my family, and I still take part in the celebration. But I don't need to make myself sick and unhealthy to take part in that celebration. That's the sort of logic that I'm using there.
Yes, in my case, my family and friends have started have started following low carb when I'm around, because well, they can enjoy many things, and it's not that they are deprived or if they want to eat something else, but they know what I eat, and they always take it into account because they are the people who love you, and it's easier to do things when you are accompanied by your loved ones.
Yes, that's very true. Just picking up a few comments here. There's a fad for sugar-free sweets these days, and sugar-free is not always low carb. Absolutely right. And many times this is why reading the food labels is so important as well. Sometimes the package of the food says that it's low carb or it's keto, but actually, if you see the macros and if you read the carbohydrate content, it's really not low carb. And people, a lot of well-meaning relatives and friends will tell you that, oh, I brought these sugar-free chocolates for you, please eat it. But if you see at the back of the packet, it's got like 70% carbs, so it may be sugar-free but it's not carb-free or it's not low carb, right?
Yes.
Then there's another comment by Punita. She says, "What else can I eat? My family is vegetarian, and we don't eat eggs and we don't eat meat. So what can we, eat if we want to do low carb?" So I'll start sharing one or two ideas, and Lucy, feel free to jump in. So Punita, you depends on what you want to make. So you can make vegetables and curries, and you can prepare roti and rice if that is what you want. So if you want to have bread, you can use low carb flour. You can use flour that is made of nuts, so almond flour or
Almond
coconut.
almond flour is really good. I have pizzas with almond flour. Oh my god, I have the pictures and they are amazing, tasty, and they look amazing. I will share it with you later.
Yes, I agree. I mean, it's tasty and it's healthy and it doesn't cause a spike. So there's that. And Punita, also another sort of challenge that people who are vegetarian, the challenge that they face is that they are not able to get enough protein while being low carb, right? So you have to make sure that you're eating foods that have enough protein at each meal. So whether you eat paneer or you eat tofu or you eat like, you have to make sure that the amount of protein that is required by the body. And I know that your young daughter is T1, and growing children need a lot of protein, so you have to make sure that she's getting enough protein. So even if you need to use a protein supplement, that is something that you can sort of consider and try and use.
And in these special cases, it is highly advisable that you follow a personalized plan with your healthcare professional because, as we were saying before, these are general recommendations and in all cases are different, especially when there are other conditions involved, not just diabetes.
Correct, correct. Absolutely. That's a much needed reminder. I see the same question that is being asked by Karuna as well. Can you please elaborate more about veg stuff? No eggs and no non vegetarian food. So even if it's vegan or it's, how do it? I think it's definitely a little bit challenging to be vegan and low carb. It's not something that you can't do. Yes, you can do it.
I
um,
tried, Nupur. I tried and it didn't work for me because I became extremely weak after 9 months. My iron levels were on the floor, and I had to stop following that approach. But it was my experience.
and very
It's
important. And
challenging
yeah,
because
no,
where do
this
you
very
get the B12 vitamin from?
exactly. Where do you get your vitamin B12 from, right? Many vegetarians are deficient in vitamin B12. If you do your blood test and your panel of tests that, and most people realize, and we've seen this on our Facebook group as well. A question from Rekha: what if my blood sugar is 200 and I don't take a correction dose? And what if I wait for my sugar to come down? If I don't eat, will it come down? Lucy, you want to take that?
Uh, which one was it? What if? No, if you don't take a correction dose, your sugar won't come down by some magic because if you live with type 1 diabetes, you don't produce insulin, so your sugar might keep raising, but it will never go down on its own. At least with type 1 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is another story.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I know, Rekha, I know you have type 2 diabetes, but you are an insulin dependent type 2. In that way, what Lucy said is that, unless and until you take the insulin, it's not going to come down by itself. So many people, and I used to have this misconception many years ago that if I don't check my sugar, it will come down, eventually. And but that's not the right approach. I now know that if my sugar is high, and I've made sure that I've calculated what as long as I'm not stacking insulin means that if I've taken my Novo Rapid at 12 o'clock, I don't immediately take the next dose, because if I do that I get a hypo. So I want to make sure that my whole bolus is
Rage bolus.
complete. Yes, I do that all the time. I mean, I'm sure it's a doctor phrase saying don't do that, but I mean, we are just human, so I do that as well. And this is just a quick reminder that we are actually at the end of the hour. So, last call. If anyone has any questions, please put the questions in the comment box quickly, and we're going to wrap up soon. We are pretty
Yeah.
much at the end of our presentation, and we hope you found it useful. So just a reminder to put your questions into the comment box, and we'll take the last few questions. All
Well,
right.
here to wrap up, and we want to express that it's not, as we said before, it's not just a low carb, it's also exercise, it's also being emotionally healthy, being supported by your community, peer support, friends, be part of an association or be part of Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation to connect with other friends and peers. Its empowerment is to take control of your diabetes and your feelings and do something to feel better. It's creating new habits, and it's developing the right mindset.
Yes, yes. I think that's beautifully, said by Lucy, that it's a lot more than just food or just any one thing. It's so many things that helps us to balance our life, right? And I see a question by Harneet. How do you manage sugars while traveling to different countries and while traveling in general? So, Lucy, you want to share how you manage, and then I can share my thoughts as well later.
Well, when I travel, I just carry as many supplies as possible with me, because if I don't have enough supplies, I'm in danger of not having them in other countries. But as I follow this low carb approach, the variation of my levels is less. So I don't have many problems. Sometimes in planes and other means of transport, they give you cookies or biscuits, and I don't eat them because it's what we generally get, and that's a good way of managing. I have coffee, for example. That's how I do it. I remain quite stable.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And it's sometimes such a challenge when you're in a different location, whether it's a different country or a different state. The food is different, the timings are different, the time zone is different sometimes, and it can be very challenging. And one of the things that remain constant when you're low carb is that generally your blood sugars are going to remain stable, because you are not introducing too many variables that could really cause that kind of roller coaster. So just like Lucy, I also don't eat the biscuits and cookies that they give in the plane. In fact, I just came back today, and in the plane, we know what kind of food is served. There's a big portion of rice, and then there's some chicken and some vegetable. And what I do is I just eat the chicken, I eat the vegetable, and that's it. So
Yes.
I only pick and choose what works for me. And with regards to time zone, I calculate. So if I have to take my Lantus, at a certain time, I make sure that I'm taking it at the same time. Like if I take it at 10 p.m. India time, I was in the US a few days ago, and I made sure to take it. at 12:30 in the afternoon, because that's my lantis time back home in India. So there are many ways to manage your basal. This is one way. And yeah, if you have any questions, Harneet, if we've not covered anything, let us know.
Karuna says that she's struggling with a weight issue. My question is how to maintain weight with insulin, how not intense workout, blah 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 blah. Blah. Uh-huh. Okay, Karuna, the thing is that the more carbohydrates that you intake, the more insulin that you will need. And insulin is an anabolic hormone, and carbohydrates make you put on weight, and insulin makes you put on weight, and it's like a vicious circle. So low carb approach would benefit you because you will be able to manage your weight issue, and you will feel more satisfied with less hungry and with less cravings. So it's truly a really big advantage.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think protein is the key of my meals now. And earlier, carbohydrate was the main part of my meals when I was not low carb. But with protein, I am full for a long time, and I don't feel the urge to keep eating. I actually lost, weight as well when I started low carb. And my intention at the time was not to lose weight; it was to get good blood sugar control. But losing weight was a nice side benefit that I got from switching to low carb. And I know you're vegetarian, Karuna, and I think if I were in your place, I would focus on each meal that I eat. I would make sure to get enough protein. You're also asking if omega 3 and vitamin E is fine to take. Well, that is something on a case to case basis, about your individual health. You and your healthcare professional will know best. So yeah. Also, another question by Rajiv Ji. He says we have insulin to carb ratio. What about protein? Is there a insulin to protein ratio? Interesting question. So,
Yes,
Lucy,
you create it yourself because you must observe the reaction of your body to that protein. You can try eating the same thing 3 days in a row and take notes on how that worked out, and then you create your own protein ratio so that the next time that you're going to eat that, you know the doses that works for you.
yeah. And
But
also, I
yes,
remember earlier. Yes. Earlier in the conversation, Salim had mentioned that so Karuna is facing the challenge of wanting to lose weight, whereas Salim had the challenge of wanting to gain weight. And I assume, Salim, what you mean is you want to actually gain muscle. Again, low carb is an excellent option to do that, because when you eat a sufficient amount of protein, what happens is that you will gain lean muscle as well, because you don't want a situation where you are underweight now and then you eat a lot of like carbs and fat, and then you become overweight later. So there's a fine balance that you want to maintain. And I also see Tino here. Hi, thank you for
with
joining, Tino.
exercise too. It's a protein and exercise to gain muscle and decrease insulin resistance.
Yeah, very important. And along with all of this, keeping your blood sugars in a well controlled, tightly managed range is something that is going to help you put on lean muscle. It's a problem that we see a lot of young men in particular, who are very concerned about the fact that we want to put on weight, we want to be more muscular, and how do we do that? So yeah, that's your answer right there.
Yes.
All right. I think I don't see any more questions. So we are
Let's
at the
go,
end.
Tino. Tino connected and he says, let's go, Lucía Mato. Hi there, Tino.
All
Okay,
right.
yes, the conclusion is the one that we have already discussed is that by reducing carbohydrate intake, individuals can better manage their blood sugar levels, reduce medication dependency, and improve overall health. And that works for Latin America, that works for India, and that works for the whole world.
Yes, I love it. It can be done anywhere, any culture, any food habits, any backgrounds. Anybody can do it. If you want to do it, if you have the will to do it, it can be done. So that's a powerful message that we are leaving you with. And that's a lovely selfie right there.
Thank you so much for staying with us during our session today. Thank you, Nupur.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you so much for joining in on a Sunday, and thank you to all our viewers. If you have any questions, you can continue leaving your questions on the Facebook group. That's Diabetes Support Network India. Remember to follow us on all platforms as well, and we will keep this conversation going. So take care. Have a good Sunday, and see you all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.